just yesterday, the United States announced it's revoking the foreign terrorist organization designation of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. The group, known as HTS, was once linked to al-Qaeda and toppled Syrian strongman Bashar al-Assad late last year. In May, the U.S. president announced the lifting of sanctions on the country. Donald Trump even met with Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Shara, the former head of HTS. To discuss the situation in Syria today, we can bring in France 24's Wassim Nasr, who was recently in the country. Wassim, great to see you. Let's start off with Aleppo. This is a multicultural city heavily destroyed during the war. What's it like now?
Well, actually, when you go, you take the road, since I went from Turkey towards Aleppo, you notice the road which was closed till lately. So here's the map or the areas that I visited. But first, let's see the videos that I shot from the border till the town of Aleppo. And you see, for example, that many villages that were deserted by their inhabitants seeing their own people coming back, and this is, for example, one of the towns on the road to Aleppo and to the neighborhood of Rashidin, and you see this destruction, but you also see that people are trying to reconstruct. You see reconstruction in the middle of rubble in this area. And I crossed through two villages, through Shia villages, Nubal and Zahra, and I noticed that there is a huge security disposal for them, like protecting them. And what's particular about Aleppo, as you said, many communities in Aleppo, is that the new authorities are succeeding in protecting the minorities better than dealing with the problems amongst the majority, the Sunni majorities. Those are the silos of Aleppo. Why? Because some people of the Sunni majority were with the regime till the Battle of Aleppo. And when the Battle of Aleppo occurred, there was a group called Liwa al-Baqir, a Sunni group, meaning but loyal to the regime, that took in the HTS commandos in his own area, and also turned the tide against the regime. And today those people are thinking that they are not being rewarded as they should. So the friction inside the Sunni community between those who were with the regime or against the regime is much more important in the area of Aleppo than with other minorities. And also we have the exception of the two neighborhoods that are still held by the YPG, meaning the Kurdish factions, because I saw that even if there's like common checkpoints on the entrances of those neighborhoods, inside the neighborhood is still the YPG which makes the rules.
Now, Manbij, the city, is east of Aleppo. It was under Kurdish control until the regime fell. What is happening there?
Well, actually, I got access to Manbij. The security situation is very, very critical. And here we see on the road to Manbij, this is the town of Tadif. Also, inhabitants are coming back to Tadif, which is notable because it was deserted when it was under Kurdish control. And all the way to Manbij, and we're going to see on other footage, there are fortifications made by the YPG, meaning tunnels here on both sides of the roads, and also for, like military fortifications we're going to see after this in order to shoot at anyone who takes this road. So this road was closed, and here is what I'm talking about. And when the regime fell, actually rebel factions entered the city. The city was looted, but there was a security vacuum during 4 months, and those are also tunnels that I filmed, but tunnels big enough to where you can get a car inside of it. So
Really?
there are tunnels made by the YPG in order to protect, to defend actually their position in this town, knowing that this town, the Manbij town, was a stronghold of the Islamic State, and then a stronghold of the YPG. So this is to be taken into consideration. And when you see that, when you see the level of destruction and of fortification, in this town, you understand what could be pending in other areas. So here is in the middle of a neighborhood in the town. You see tunnels that are dug by the YPG, which are filled today by inhabitants with anything just to fill the tunnel. And I also got to visit. This is the military hospital of Manbij, which was a headquarters of the Islamic State, then a headquarters of the YPG, and you will see that the tunnel is inside of the hospital. We're going to see it in a while. So here it is. The guy is like showing the tunnel, which is like closed, and then we're going to see another tunnel, which is behind a door actually. So I got first access to this site. Nobody got access to this site before, not any journalist. And here we go inside the hospital, and here, as you can see, behind the door, another tunnel. So the area was really fortified, and actually those who dug those tunnels were the Arab inhabitants. So when the tide changed, they showed the rebels where the tunnels were, and the YPG fighters or Kurdish fighters were stuck inside of them. And Manbij has a big problem, which can be seen also in its private university. I have footage of the private university, also a headquarters of the Islamic State, then of the YPG, totally destroyed. But I knew that the owner of this university is trying also to reconstruct. And here, as you can see, he started to take off the rubble in this spot.
Now, you also traveled to the capital, Damascus, but you went through Homs.
I went through Homs, which is also a mix of mix of communities. There, Homs has a big problem. We know for sure, for example, that almost 60 Alawite women were kidnapped in the last months. We know that there is assassinations on daily basis, and I got to understand that whenever there is a huge social media campaigns, meaning we found this guy, he used to work for the regime, etc., etc., they were killed later. So the new authorities are trying, for example, there was a commemoration of the Hula massacre in 2012 done by the Assad militias. So they went and they captured, they caught everybody who was involved. It's a way also to judge them, but also a way to prevent avenging and killing, random killings of those people. This is Homs, you see, as you can see, it is also very much destroyed. And I went to Damascus. When I arrived to Damascus, this was the day where the church of Marlias was attacked by a suicide bomber. And we're going to see the footage. Here's the church from inside, like burned. And in a while, you see the hole in the ground. You will understand how big was the explosion and the explosive that was worn by the suicide bomber. So here's the hole in the ground. And we know that there were many casualties, and actually there was a big misunderstanding around this happening, and it went exactly the way the Islamic State would have wanted it to go, meaning when some representatives of the government came to talk to the priest and they told him anything will be compensated. It's an Arab way to say, no worry, things will go better. So the priest responded, you as Muslims make 20 kids, we make 2 kids. And it was really seen as sectarian by the Muslim majority, saying we liberated the country and this is how you are thanking us.
Yeah.
So, and it was really a moment of tension on all levels, because nobody knew exactly how to tackle the situation.
Interesting. Now, next, let's talk about Palmira, because this is, of course, a city which was taken by ISIS twice. It's famous for those Roman ruins, we remember. It was transformed into a military facility for both the Russians and the Iranians as well.
Exactly. And we're going to see how we went into Palmira. We go through the Badia, the desert area. The Islamic State is still present on both sides. This footage is to show you that the burned cars, the burned trucks on both sides, tires on both sides, and the road, which is really in a bad situation. And actually, we'll go next to the Dumar military airport, and then I got footage from the Badia. We stopped for a while. You can see a burned tank. I don't know if it was burned when fighting was occurring with the Islamic State or during the latest fightings. We are talking about 45 degrees in this desert. I also filmed the rails of the train, because it's a very rich area actually. There's mines of phosphate in this area, and it's an economic hub of resources for the Syrian state. So it's a dangerous area, but also is an area full with resources. And then the desert, in the middle of the desert, you see the palmerae of Palmira. You know, the trees, the palm trees. Here they are. And it is like something like a mirage coming out of the desert. And then you see the archaeological town of Palmira. We got footage also of it. And eventually I saw actually a bus with United Nations employees checking the site. It's a beautiful site.
It's a beautiful
site. And it's well preserved regarding, it was bombed by the Russians, and the Baal Shmai temple was destroyed by ISIS. But still the site is very much well preserved. But the problem is with the town of Tadmur. The name of Palmira is Tadmur in Arabic, and here is the town, which, as you said, was transformed into military barracks. And for the people of this area, Palmira and Tadmor is also the prison of Tadmor, because there's a notorious prison there, like the prison of Saidnaya, and we think that maybe the regime did it on purpose, like on archaeological and religious sites like Saidnaya, Christian religious site, there was prisons, notorious prisons, meaning he was making people who visited those areas like accomplices of what was happening on those sites.
Now, finally, Deir ez-Zor was ravaged during the war, and you were one of the first foreign journalists to gain access to it.
Yes, exactly. I got to have access to the Deir ez-Zor, the town of Deir ez-Zor. What is stunning on the way is the number of trucks, the number of Iraqi trucks on their way to Damascus and to other areas in Syria. This is Iraqi help, actually.
Really?
Iraq is helping the new government to settle. And what I saw also is like a cemetery of tanks. Maybe we'll see the footage, and it shows you how hard were the battles actually in this area. And anyways, let's go into Deir ez-Zor and we see the destruction inside the town of Deir ez-Zor. We are talking about a town destroyed more than 90%. Inhabitants today are 154,000. 11,000 came back. And here we see among the rubble, people are trying to fix their apartments, as you can see. And in a way, to have an apartment is very costly today in Deir ez-Zor, because a small part of the town still can be inhabited. The government is getting electricity back, and I saw mosques which are on the ground. We have footage of mosques on the ground that we can see. This is one of the biggest mosques in Deir ez-Zor, and at the same time, churches are also on the ground. So you have the mix between the destroyed churches and destroyed mosques in this town, knowing that the governor appointed by Damascus, his wife is Armenian, meaning Christian, and her family is Christian, and I want to show you the bridges, which are all destroyed in Deir ez-Zor. The area had 7 bridges. One of the bridges is known as the French Bridge, which was constructed by France in the 1920s. Maybe we'll get to see the bridges. And here is the bridge of rubble, which is the only functioning bridge between the areas held today by the government and the areas held by the YPG. And we are going to see how people cross the river on barks, like trucks. Here you go. They cross. This is the only way to make heavy crossings between the two sides of the river. And I got to know, for example, that people who are handling this are also not happy with bridges being repaired, because it's resources, it's income for them.
Yeah.
And I got to spend some time also on the river. We'll get to see footage, because people are still trying to live. And here, cafes are open. You can see people, and you'll see music and how life is coming back to the Euphrates. As you remember, this area witnessed huge fightings between the Islamic State, Shia militias coming all the way from Pakistan, the Syrian army, the bombing of the coalition, the bombing of the Russians, but still people are trying to come back.
And rebuild.
And people are trying to rebuild despite all the poverty and despite all the security problems, at least to get to Deir ez-Zor. At least to get to Deir ez-Zor. And this is the final image that you would like to show you. A floating cafe.
Thank you, Wassim, for ending on that glimmer of hope there. I mean, as you took us through the whole, all the spots you visited, a lot of destruction, a lot of devastation, a lot of poverty, but there's hope.
There is hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.